It's time for MacBreak Weekly. Andy, Renee, and Alex are here for our last live show of the year. We have a little bit of news, but a lot of friendly conversation coming up. We'll talk about Apple's chip plans in Southern California, rumors about the iPhone 14 and 13, and about new Macs. And Renee explains the Mac M1 cadence strategy and why we shouldn't be expecting M2s too soon. It's all coming up next on MacBreak Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust. This is Twit.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 797, recorded Tuesday, December 21st, 2021. A plastic festoon. This episode of MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by Coinbase. Cryptocurrency might feel like a secret or exclusive club, but Coinbase believes that everyone everywhere should be able to get in the door. Whether you've been trading for years or just getting started, Coinbase can help. For a limited time, new users can get $10 in free Bitcoin when you sign up today at coinbase.com/MacBreak. And by userway.org. Userway ensures your website is accessible, ADA compliant, and helps your business avoid accessibility-related lawsuits. The perfect way to showcase your brand's commitment to millions of people with disabilities. It's not only the right thing to do, it's also the law. Go to userway.org/twit for 30% off Userway's AI-powered accessibility solution. And by CashFly. Give your users the seamless online experience they want. Power your site or app with CashFly's CDN and be 30% faster than the competition. Learn more at twit.cashfly.com. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the last episode of 2021, and good riddance. Next week, it's going to be a best of episode. We will reconvene in January and hope that 2022 is better than 2020. No. That's Renee Ritchie shivering in his boots. Hello, Renee. YouTube.com/Renee
Leo,
Ritchie.
you can't say it like that. You have to. It can't be 2022. You have to try to say it in a way like 2022. Like nobody thinks it's a sequel, a trequel, whatever it is.
It's a trilogy, baby. We had 2020, 2021, which should have been 2022, and now 2022. 2020 Junior. 2023, the Conjuring. I don't know.
And it's still a Tuesday in March.
It's
somehow still a Tuesday in March.
Still a Tuesday. Sigh.
But we're together, Leo. That's the important thing.
Thank goodness we got
exactly.
that. There's Andy and Notco.
We have each other.
WGBH in Boston. Hello, Andy. Safely ensconced.
Noel, almost.
Yeah, Joyeux Noel.
Yes. Yep. We had our dusting of snow, but again, global warming, so we can expect some snow in February, but mostly last weekend it was like 61, 62 degrees. I was almost resentful because it was like the day before it was like in the 40s. I knew the next day it was going to be again in the 30s, and it's like, but I don't want to go for a nice long bike ride. Oh, come on. This is the one day we have to, okay, fine. I'll go for a nice long bike ride. I'll have lunch outside. I'll do some shopping.
You're brave. When it's the 40s here, I say, I ain't going for a bike ride. That's too cold. Again,
it was like one day of 61, 62 degree weather. It was like It was like
that's
gorgeous,
right
spring weather.
Yeah, the sun
it's like, again, you don't want to waste one of those days.
Yeah. And Alex Lindsay from OfficeHours.global. He never rests. The last office hours of 2021 will be December 31st, no doubt.
Oh yeah, we did a vote we do an education hour on Saturdays, and I voted. I said, do you guys want to do it on this Saturday because it's the 25th? I did it last week, and 3 to 1.
You're working Christmas, and you could do.
I don't really think of it as work.
What we did the 24 hours of New Year's, you could do that because you're going to be there anyway.
So we've been talking about it. We've actually been talking about we just did 4 hours where we basically last Saturday it's up there. It's up on my site or whatever, my page on YouTube. But we cooked, and then we jumped to we jumped to Massachusetts and did a live stream of some music, a musician. Then we jumped to Belfast and did another set of musicians.
Wow.
And then we had basically a round table, and
Have
it was
a New
jumping
Year's
from
Eve party. Yeah.
then all connected to into the cloud. And we were like, if we already figured this
You
out,
should
we could
do
probably
that
just
for New Year's.
Will you do it?
We're talking
Will you
about
get
it.
the
We're-
tattoo and shave your head. That's the
right.
important.
I'm not
part.
I'm not ready to shave my head yet.
Do not.
I've done it.
Don't.
I've done it.
Don't. This was a mistake, huge mistake, even if it's for a good cause.
I have so much. I have so little left that I feel like I should take full advantage of it until it's time for it to go. So it's
Exactly what I feel.
I figure I only got another couple years.
Yeah. By the way,
like
happy
Disney when
winter,
Mickey
happy
Mouse
winter
ID.
solstice. It's December 21st.
Yay.
First day of, believe it or not, first day of winter. Yeah,
That's cool.
I'm going to start with a happy story. I mean, so many kind of downer stories lately. NSO is running out of cash.
I wonder how that happened.
After the U.S. ban, this is from 9 to 5 Mac, and Apple action, Pegasus spyware maker NSO running out of cash. Forgive me for being skeptical, but
World's
remember, they're
smallest
being
violin.
sued by Facebook and Apple. It was very convenient to run out of cash when you're being sued for millions and millions of dollars, isn't it?
I think they're probably running out of
the
cash.
lawsuits
I
weren't
think
about money, though,
You
right?
think they really are
I
running
think
out
it
of
was to
cash?
shut them
Yeah,
down.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think that this is one of the things we often talk to people about when they talk about how much they spend on this or whether they should be careful of that. I'm like, the most expensive thing in any business is failure, and the problem that they had is they weren't paying attention to what was happening. Like they were interested in the money. They would let anybody check in. They weren't cross-checking what was happening, and I think that they just got bit by being lazy and greedy.
There are talks ongoing with several investment funds about refinancing or an outright sale. They're actually seeking a buyer. All the buyers are
it
saying,
gonna
"Oh
be
no,
North
we would
Korea?
just be defensive. It would be a defensive. We change the business of the company
Yep.
to defensive."
Right.
Yeah, sure.
Look how easy the black in our black hat bleaches out to white.
Kim Il Sung in a statement today said he would use it purely as a retaliatory technique.
Yeah, there you go. We'll only do it to get the bad guys, okay?
Yeah.
And to get a working version of Disney Plus installed in North Korea.
Okay, but that's okay. In case you don't remember, NSO and Pegasus were, of course, in the news all year because they were making spyware that was breaking into Apple phones used by governments to attack activists and journalists.
And the worst part, Leo, is that Facebook is suing them now, but actively tried to hire them to write code so that they could break into iPhones earlier after Apple closed a few of their exploits.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That's shocking.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
shocked.
there's a whole investigation in Facebook trying to license NSO code to get data from iOS users that they were getting from Android users.
2 years ago, management bought the company out, valuing it about $1 billion. They have $450 million in debt. And according to Bloomberg, the U.S. restrictions have put pressure on the NSO because they can't find ways to make that money back. A loan with a face value of $300 million that NSO issued in 2019, trading at an all-time low bid of 70 cents on the dollar, now down to 50 cents on Monday. I just think, I wish them all the best karma.
Everything
right?
they deserve.
Everything they deserve
and
yeah,
more.
Yeah, karma's a bitch, baby.
But you wonder where the brain drain is going to go. I mean, I read the report from Project Zero about how almost in glowing terms about not just Pegasus but just the hack to get it installed on iPhones.
Oh,
They said
wasn't that interesting? The PDF and all
this-
that.
Yeah, they were writing about how this is. I didn't say this, but it gave me the impression of if you find out that your next door neighbors had launched a mission to the moon and they're taking selfies on the lunar surface. This is not the sort of technology. This is not the sort of capability that a private company is supposed to be able to develop for themselves. This is the sort of stuff you get with a full support of a nation state behind it, and that was just. Again, hats off to them because it was the level of the exploit they were doing was just impeccable. But the thing is, people develop these, and these people are going to be on LinkedIn in about a couple months' time. So where are they going to go? What they're going to do?
So this is, and I thank Galia in our Discord chat for sending me this from Google Project Zero's blog, a deep dive into an NSO zero-click iMessage exploit, remote code execution. The Citizen Lab, the Toronto-based security researchers, shared a sample of the forced entry exploit with them.
Yeah.
Apple's Security and Engineering Architecture Group, SEER, collaborated on the technical analysis. And here's an example of the message Citizen Lab provided of you might get. And if you click this is a phishing SMS. This was actually back in 2016. Yeah. If you click that. So it's really interesting. So iMessage has native support for GIFs, of course, or GIFs, depending on. It takes no stand on that.
The G is silent.
Ifs. So you can send and receive them in chats. They show up, as you know, in the chat window. Apple wanted to make them loop endlessly rather than play once. So in the iMessage parsing and processing pipeline, iMessage calls a message, and this is important, outside of Blastdoor. This is how they got around Blastdoor. Outside of Blastdoor, which is that security that Apple applied after they first discovered this happening. And then, according to Project Zero, looking at the selector name, the intention here is probably just to copy the GIF before editing the loop count field, but the semantics of the method are different. Under the hood, it uses Core Graphics API to render the source image of a new GIF file at the destination path. And just because the source file name has to end in GIF doesn't mean, yes, you know where I'm going here, that it's actually a GIF file. Yep. So you can put an arbitrary file there, get it to be, quote, rendered, and instead of rendering a lovely dancing bear, it's a fake GIF, 20 image codecs. It's a fascinating read. I won't read the whole thing. Yeah. They also use the fake GIF trick to so remember, it's got to be a change. So that's just not by itself not enough. What they do is make a PDF, and that targets a vulnerability in the Core Graphics PDF parser. Again, still outside the Blastdoor. The PDF parser doesn't seem to interpret JavaScript, but apparently it does, due to the JBig2 compression standard, which was created for Xerox Work Center devices many moons ago in the late 90s. And PDFs produced by those scanners were very small. And so this technique, of course, Apple has to support every kind of PDF, including JBig2. And anyway, it's just a fascinating, if you want to understand how this stuff works. And I think it's so good. Yeah. Yeah. It's just wild. And by the way, it wasn't really Apple code because the JBig2 decoder came from XPDF, an open source library. And Apple just
people got to remember that open source means anybody can look at the code, but it doesn't mean anybody is actually looking at the code.
Right.
Like you actually have to look at the code to find the problem.
So it's an integer overflow, and those are also, overflow is a word you should always listen for when it comes to security. When you get a buffer overflow, you can often get into memory and execute arbitrary code somewhere else in memory, and that's exactly what happens. So really, whoever designed this is
almost
definitely
like a postmortem. It's so well done.
Going to be. I love Project Zero. They're so good, so smart. And so is, by the way, Citizen Labs, and I'm sure Sear at Apple does a great job.
Citizen Labs, Canada loves you back. Let me just put that out there.
Can we highlight that the reason why NSO is getting so much heat was because human rights organizations, press organizations, all ganged up on them to elevate this into the international story that was supposed to be, that there is this one private organization that is selling nation-state grade technology to other nation states, but basically it was basically spying as a service, which was something that has never been done that successfully before. The scope of the problem, the intensity of how easily that this tool was being able to infiltrate devices, and the types, the owners of those devices, the high profile owners of those devices, those were just things that you get one little bit of story there, one little bit of story there. NSO would pop up kind of here in the background of a story, but the fact that there was a correlated effort to make this the international news story of the week, this is what put pressure. This is what caused the Biden administration to basically blacklist the entire service. This is what basically empowered all these other services to simply say, no, we got to shut this thing down.
I do want to pat on the head the guy who figured this out, even if it wasn't used for the best reasons. So basically,
Right.
I'll skip to the end, but basically by taking advantage of this code in JBig, the JBig compression, this open source code, they were able to carefully craft the decompression so that they could use logical operators and or XOR and XNOR between memory regions at arbitrary offsets. Now you might say, well, so what? You're going to have a couple of AND gates out there in memory? Well, it turns out they were able to build with just those 4 operations a Turing-complete programming language. Any computable
image
function.
of Darth Vader.
Yeah.
So, in effect, while JBig 2 doesn't have scripting capabilities, but combined with the vulnerability, it has the ability, and I'm quoting Project Zero, to emulate circuits of arbitrary logic gates operating on arbitrary memory. Basically, they built their own computer architecture in memory and scripted that.
This is the equivalent of like that movie segment where some guy goes, I'm gonna beat you with my thumb. And just like that's all I got. That's all I got. That's all I need.
All I need.
It's kind of amazing.
It's about that, right? 4 logic gates, and they were able to create a Turing-complete system.
Give me 4 logic gates and I can roll the world, Leo.
Using over 70,000 segment commands defining logical bit operations, they define a small computer architecture with features such as registers, a full 64-bit adder, and a comparator, which they use to search memory and perform arithmetic operations. It's not as fast as JavaScript. I love this.
Doesn't need to be fast at all.
But it's fundamentally computationally equivalent.
Wow.
Built a Lego out of sticks from his backyard and he's considered to race a Ferrari. It does not need to.
Yeah.
The bootstrapping operations for the sandbox escape exploiter written to run on this logic circuit. The whole thing runs in this weird emulated environment created out of a single decompression pass through a JBig 2 stream. I mean, whoever
I think you take this
one guy,
programmer,
but yeah.
Just hand them. I think that they could turn a Raspberry Pi into a supercomputer.
Just think what this person could do if they put their mind to good instead of evil.
I know.
Colonize
I'm sure they
Mars.
thought it was good when they wrote it. Like, I think that the all these things start with good intentions. It's just, the idea that you could, that you could break into those things. And I'm sure that it started off with we're going to do the right thing and keep terrorists back and all this other stuff.
Hungry, Alex.
Well, also, I have to say, and I kind of understand this, that people who can operate at this level often do things because they're interesting and don't really think about anything else. It's just, wow, I could do that.
They're Werner Braun types, von Braun types, where it's like I don't care who's writing the checks for this. I don't care what kind of labor is being used to produce. The thing is, I've got a sponsor to let me build rockets, and then after I build their weapons, I get to build rockets that go to the moon. Yeah. I don't care I'm not thinking that far ahead. Yeah. So, if you're interested in this kind of thing, Google projectzero.blogspot.com. They posted this on the 12th. Wow. And thank you, Galia, for sharing this with me because it was, I'm sorry, I just closed it. Sorry, John. John switched to it and then I went, bye-bye. Truly, here, I'll open it again. This is the
brilliant work by everybody involved.
Yeah. Actually, December 15th, I should say, this came out. So about 6 days ago. Wow. So anyway, I'm glad the guys are going out of business, but you got to think that some of these coders
you can't stay.
are now free agents.
Bye.
Yeah. Wow.
Apple's red team is really good too, like you mentioned. All of the Project Zero, the Seer team, the red team, they're all operating at the top of their game. But there's way many more just random people, not random, but like genius kids sitting in their basements trying all these exploit outs than there are. Yeah. So the best we can hope for is that companies react as quickly and best as possible, and they are, which is good for us.
And I know some folks, I think I might have mentioned this. I talked to someone who's on a red team and I said, so what, they're a freelancer. They just go and people hire them to break into their their company. And I asked, I was like, so who's been able to keep you out? And he was like, no one keeps me out. He goes, it's just time. It's just, and it's time and it's usually some, human error. He goes, but no one keeps you out. They just pay you to figure out what that is. And then they close that one. And then I do it again. And then they close another one. And then he goes, it's just time and usually human error somewhere that allows you through.
Yeah. Any system with humans can't be secure.
Yeah, part of it is just the downside of our reliance on open source software. It's wonderful in that we're building all of our infrastructure on code that is shared, that is the code is understood, and that there's a common knowledge base that people can take from company to company to company. However, that means that when we find a fault in one open source package, it creates an enormous problem across the entire internet. Also because this is not these technologies, these code bases, these libraries that we're basing the entire internet on are being supported by 2, 3, 4 people on a volunteer basis. Whereas if you basically, if there was some sort of a charitable trust that said, congratulations, this method of resolving an address is so valuable that we're going to give you a salary of $230,000 a year for life to just do nothing but maintain this code library, that's not happening. So as a result, bugs just simply exists. They can't be found until they're exploited. And then once they're exploited, it's a problem for the entire planet. Mm. We need to respect these people more.
Yeah. Like the dinosaurs eating the people in the Jurassic Park movie, Leo. We never learned our lesson.
We never learned our lesson. What would you do? I mean, what do you do? So there's somebody out there, some person or team out there that did this. What do you do as a defensive measure? Do you approach them as the NSA did in Good Will Hunting, only to get a long Boston accented screed against your company?
Apple hired all the jailbreakers, right? Like they hired almost the whole entire first generation of jailbreakers.
What do you offer them $1 million a year? Make it like this best job you ever had. You get your own limo, whatever you want.
I'll tell you one thing you don't do. Like if someone reports a security bug, you don't promise them that you're going to make the change and then credit them and then basically stiff arm them for months and months and months.
That's really true. Yes.
Okay. There's an argument to be made that you can't get into a bidding war to make sure that whenever someone finds a security flaw, you will always be able to pay them more than the dark industries will pay them to keep it quiet. However, like you said, a lot of these people who are discovering these bugs, they're not necessarily mercenaries. They're there because they say it starts off with, I wonder if that's possible. And then 4 months later, they own every iPhone on the entire planet, and they are willing to simply they're willing to share this exploit with the good people and make sure that's not put out in the wild as a 0-day. However, once you say, if you give them like a generic online form to fill out, and then an online generic, thank you, we have received your bug report, you've done good work, go forth and do good in this world, that's not enough. You have to treat them with the respect and the gratitude that is commensurate with the scale of the disaster they just averted for your commercial product.
So, of course, this happened. Apple did this to a security researcher who was a little miffed.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
They should be.
Justifiably so.
Yeah.
You're not making it easy for the next person to come up to you and say, "Hi, here's a master key for every single device that you've been shipping for the past 3 years." Like, guess what? You're getting a tour of the Apple campus. We're giving you a free T-shirt. We're taking you out to lunch. You get a picture with any Steve you want on the campus. Please, thank you.
Except for Jaws, he charges for those now.
True.
But like,
pay for those great shirts somehow.
There's an infinite amount of reasons why any even large company will fumble what seems like the silliest, easiest of new things. But those are the things that they should be up at night worrying about fumbling. So it's so depressing.
Yeah. Well, let's take a little time out, finish with more great.
Oh, Noel.
Joyeux.
Instead of a Wells. Oh, Noel.
This thing over my shoulder?
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, it's Leon, but I turned it around so that it would say Noel. My mom.
Leon the Professional.
Yeah.
Great movie. I'm glad you're promoting it. Not enough people know that.
That is a good movie, actually. I love him.
It is.
I just like the Will Ferrell answer to the Elf sequel where he says, like, there's just no way anyone's going to see him in those tights again.
Our show today brought to you by Coinbase. Now, I know you know the name Coinbase. I would assume you do, but maybe, like me, you didn't really know what Coinbase does. Coinbase is where you keep your crypto in simple enough terms. If you've been looking to level up your financial portfolio, maybe do a little diversification into cryptocurrency, you might want to take a look at Coinbase. Backed by the world's leading investors, Coinbase keeps your portfolio safe and secure while letting you add crypto into your mix. And I'm not just talking about Bitcoin. There's a lot of different kinds of crypto. Coinbase is a trusted, easy-to-use platform. You can keep your wallet there. You can buy there. You can sell there. You can spend there. You can also convert crypto into other currencies. They support the most popular digital currencies on the market. They make them accessible to everyone. They offer portfolio management and protection if you want. They're at least, you see that at the top of the Coinbase page, it says learn. At least click that link. I think we're all a little bit baffled by what is all of this. And look at all these different coins. I mean, including, by the way, Dogecoin, which is, what is it now, 7 cents? Father Robert would be a millionaire right now. He should have stuck with Coinbase. Coinbase will take care of you with a mobile app so you can trade securely, monitor your crypto right there on your phone. Millions of people in over 100 countries trust Coinbase with their digital assets. Whether you're looking to diversify, just get started, or even just learn what crypto is all about, or maybe just a better way to access crypto markets, take a look at Coinbase. Coinbase.com/MacBreak. And just to make it fun, just to kind of to make it a little, get you a little dog in the hunt. For a limited time, new users can get $10 in free Bitcoin when you sign up today at Coinbase.com/MacBreak. Sign up at Coinbase, Coinbase.com/MacBreak. $10 in free Bitcoin. It's really a way of encouraging you to use that address. That way, we get the credit. You get the $10, we get the credit. It's a limited time offer. Don't wait. Sign up today. Coinbase.com/MacBreak. A good way to make money. Develop an app. App Store. Look how many App Store developers for the first time ever made $1 million this year, considerably up even from years.
They make $1 million
by.
or 999,000, so they wouldn't lose their 15%, Leo. Have to be very careful here.
It's like the new tax breaks.
Yeah, you really want to get right at, because I guess Apple is
right under.
Yeah, right under $1 million. More than 900 publishers worldwide. Well, but this, by the way, includes the Google Store as well as the Apple Store. That's up 91% over 2016's total of 475. It has become a great way to make a little dough. Be an app developer. Now, Alex, I'm sure you're going to say you'd much rather develop for the Apple Store than the Play Store.
Oh yeah, it makes more money.
Yeah.
So it's more surefire. I mean, the Play Store has been more of an ad driven platform, and the App Store tends to be more of a purchase platform. And you'll see that a little bit. What I thought was really interesting in that report was the fact that 80% of the revenue is actually not captured by the App Store. So 80% of the revenue that flows through the system, and that's like Amazon.com and that type of thing, is not, because it's not a digital good. 80% of the revenue generated by the apps in the App Store are not going to, are not, Apple's not taking a percentage of those because they're not digital goods. So it's an interesting, and that's including anything that is, things that you deliver, Uber, Amazon, all those things aren't applicable.
Yeah. Here's the graph from Sensor Tower. The green is Google Play and the blue is App Store. Mobile app publishers with first net $1 million or greater globally. And so this, in 2021, it was 325 in the Play Store and 581 developers in the App Store.
You're also, by market share, you're sorting people who are going to spend $700 to $1,000 on a phone, and people who are going to spend $200 to $500 on a phone. So the entire budget range is different. So it's always weird. Like they do iPhone versus Android as if like a phone is the same as an operating. Like a lot of these are like you have to do a lot of normalization to see what the numbers really mean. But it is amazing what opportunities that people can find on mobile marketplaces now.
This is also a useful graph from Sensor Tower. Mobile game publishers continue to, earn the lion's share. But for the beginning of 2019, the social networking entertainment categories have been in number 2 and 3 spots, as is.
Can you see my Polka coins, Leo?
In 2021.
My Polka coins.
But productivity is also starting to come on strong. That's the black bar in 2021, now 6%, more than ever before, and actually a little shrinking in health and fitness. I guess we worried more about health and fitness last year. I don't know why. I do not know why.
It wasn't effective.
Yeah, maybe it didn't work. Communications publishers flourish on Google Play. You said it's an ad-driven platform. That probably is why, right? Mm-hmm. Games, though, do very well still.
Pocket Casts.
Yeah. And the global trends, United States is projected to mirror worldwide trends with new $1 million publishers falling year to year. So I don't know what that means. Mobile game publishers represent the largest percentage of the first-time $1 million earners in the U.S. 60 of them will hit that milestone this year. 60 new mobile game publishers. So what do we take away from this? There's money to be made in the app stores. And if you're a publisher, maybe focus on Google. If you're a game developer, maybe focus on Apple. I guess Arcade didn't really hurt Apple. There was some thought that maybe with Apple and Arcade that independent developers would not put their stuff on the App Store.
It was meant for people who it was meant for games that Apple, it was like a very curated, bespoke, artisanal marketplace where people who just couldn't afford to make the game or a studio that couldn't afford to take the risk on a game they really loved could basically get funding from Apple to make it. And that's generally not the games that use Pokecoins or Simpson dollars or things to begin with.
Yeah,
so those aren't the revenue whale-based economy.
Yeah, there's no infinite scale to the apps. Apple's paying you for that. They're probably not giving you a back end on it, and so you're gonna but you do get the safety that you get to develop it. And so you get to develop it. You get money now. You just don't get as much money later. But if you want to be a developer that wants the possibility of making millions on thousands of dollars of effort, then you need to do it yourself.
We talked last week about the fact that the new iOS 15.2 has nudity detection in messaging, which parents can use to not spy on their kids, but just to give them a little heads up. Here comes a nudie. And give them 3 chances to say no to the nudes. They are also, apparently, they scrubbed the CSAM detection feature information from their web page. But when queried, say, no, we're still doing it. We just, what?
Face saving.
Well, they'll get slammed.
I think it's
if they said they weren't doing it, as much as they get slammed. So Apple is right now, because of many choices that they made, are caught right between a lot of very powerful, very vocal parental, organizations and child safety organizations and very vocal privacy advocates that they nurture. They nurtured both these groups through a lot of their own messaging, and they have very different interests and they have very powerful weapons. Yeah. And Apple's right to stay really quiet.
When queried by The Verge, it was, I think it was Mac Rumors that first noted that the mention about the CSAM detection had been removed from the web page between December 10th and December 13th. When queried by The Verge, Apple spokesperson Shane Bauer said the company's position hasn't changed. Quote, based on feedback from customers, advocacy groups, researchers, and others, we've decided to take additional time over the coming months to collect input and make improvements before releasing these critically important child safety features. Actually, they said that in September. That's what they said in September. Yeah. Shane just said nothing's changed. Same thing.
Yeah, that's weird. That it suddenly occurs to me that's the second thing from this year where Apple did something that was very non-Apple-ish, where they seemed to go forward with something without really, really thinking all the way through what the implications were and what the reaction would be. Between this and AirTags, and AirTags are really blowing up against them this month. Yeah. It seems like it's not as though they've done bad things. It's just that they're tackling technologies that are really, really almost impossibly hard to do in a way that will make privacy people happy for very good reasons. But it doesn't seem as though they really thought out, well, how are we going to deal with this? And when people complain about that, how are we going to respond to this? And have we really thought about this situation in which this would be a disaster for a number of people? It's uncharacteristic for Apple to get this kind of blowback after they've formally announced a feature, to get so many people saying, no, this is a terrible idea. You shouldn't move forward with this at all.
I think they underestimated the public response to CSAM, but I think maybe AirTags kind of took them.
Well, that was
surprise. I think sometimes Apple gets caught up in the technology and how clever their technological implementation is. Like CSAM, if you take it's impossible to do, but if you take everything out of it, it is an incredibly clever implementation to achieve as close to zero knowledge while handling reporting requirements as well. And if you look at AirTags and you compare them to Samsung tags or Tiles, it is incredibly deep technological implementation to maintain privacy of the owner of the device while also allowing them to be discovered by other people. Miracles of technology, but it's like nobody steps outside or steps back outside the ring and says, what are the repercussions to each and every one of these decisions? And what is the worst possible abuse that these technologies could go through? Because any tool is neutral. It depends on how the person using them is. And you fall in a lot of things like, well, you can always surveil people. You could drop an iPhone SE in the back of their car and know exactly where they are. That costs $300, like $350. This costs 35 cents or whatever. And everyone has an iPhone. Not everybody has a Tile. Not everybody has a Samsung. Like there are all these things that you have to weigh in. So the pure brilliance of the technological implementation, super distracting to engineers. And Apple's a very engineering-driven culture. But you really have to step back and see what.
So you're saying the Apple AirTag engineers are kind of like the guy who figured out how to make a PDF hack somebody's computer. They were blinded by the
No, they made
brilliance.
the PDF. They made the PDF, and they were like amazed that they could do all these wonderful things with the PDF. And they didn't realize that kid was coming in there using 4 registers to make a whole computer inside their PDF.
It's actually starting to turn negative in the last week. There was a tweet storm from somebody who said that a stalker used an AirTag to follow her home. The stalker issue has become larger. Of course, we talked last week about the York police in Canada saying people are putting AirTags in cars they want to steal later. It does seem like there's not much you can do with a Bluetooth tracker to prevent this.
Yeah.
No, and a lot of them don't even be. Like if you have a Samsung tracker or a Tile on you, you have no way of knowing it. But Apple, the good and best, like Apple gets a lot of advantage to themselves for their marketing, but they also put a giant spotlight on the entire industry anytime they do anything.
Well, and Apple's works better because there's more iPhones out there. And so,
and also that you're also getting an alert that it's happening. You know, like the thing is that GPS trackers are pretty easy to place. And so the
that's a good point. If you wanted to go out and buy a cheap GPS tracker and do the same thing,
they're just expensive.
That's easy.
Yeah, they're expensive, but if you don't find them, the reason that a lot of people are finding them is because they're telling them, hey, there's something traveling with you. So you're conscious that it's actually happening. But to actually track someone, sure, it's a little less expensive, but that's in the grand scheme of stealing a car and risking jail and all the other things. Spending a little bit more money on a GPS tracker is also possible. It's just that these are now starting to alert you that they're happening. And so, but putting trackers on cars have been relatively easy and low profile for a long time.
Yeah, but it's the deal here is that, of course, as often with a lot of Apple products, you're well protected if you're also using Apple products. You don't get alerted if you're running Android unless you download an app. You know this exists, and you do a scan specifically to look for something. And you're absolutely right that if you go to AliExpress, certainly you can find GPS trackers that have a SIM card on them. But the thing is, that's the SIM card hack. They're as Renee says, they're more expensive. They're also not quite as so user-friendly, and there's also a cultural component to it. We are finding out that there is a certain kind of shared cultural knowledge amongst car thieves that cause them to learn how to, here is a technique that we've had success with, here it actually works very well, and placing this tracker tends not to get us caught. That elevates this into the next thing. I mean, I think the overall, the acknowledgement that the fact that the AirTag, the Apple Find My network is so successful is part of what elevates this into the next thing. The question is whether or not the many things that Apple has done to mitigate the risk is sufficient given the scale of the disasters that can happen as a result of people abusing the system.
$50 on Amazon. GPS tracker, conveniently, it has magnets on it, so you can easily put it up in a wheel well where no one will see it. And it gives you real-time GPS tracking. SIM card's about $5, prepaid. So, yeah. For a little bit more, you could do it right.
I think it's more that people are just conscious to it. I really think that
I think you're actually right. Yeah, I think
it's been happening for quite some time.
Yeah.
It's a really common thing in law enforcement. I mean, that is a super common process is to track someone's car because it's way better than picking them up.
Aware now too.
Yeah,
the AirTags are everywhere. Just think about it.
Yeah. There was actually a big Supreme Court case about 10 years ago over that, the United States versus Jones, which said that putting a GPS on your car constitutes a search under the Fourth Amendment. So
yeah, you need a subpoena for it, but it's still pretty prevalent. Like it's easy. It's not hard to get a warrant if you've got a history.
Yeah,
and criminals don't need them, of course.
Yeah.
So, and criminals, they don't worry about the
They can just buy
Supreme
them.
Court.
Turns out they can buy them on Amazon for $50, and they don't need the Supreme Court. So
yeah.
So I think that a lot of this is that we're aware that it's happening, but I don't think that it's changed the trajectory that much. It's just that people were unconscious to how often people were tracking their cars.
It's
I think also like the awareness went to the criminals too. Like a lot of criminals may not have even thought of this, but now they see AirTags everywhere. It's in the media, it's in the press, and they're like I'm not talking about like the really good criminals. I'm talking about the kind we see on Home Alone movies where they're just like, oh, Apple's got an AirTag. I wonder if I can, and that leads to a short-term.
Yeah, but those are the ones that usually end up in jail. Because they're not very smart. The ones you have to worry about are the ones that don't end up in jail because they figured this stuff out.
AirTags.
They're not using AirTags; they're using GPS. Yeah.
But one other note is just that it's a lot easier to hide your identity by creating a fake iCloud account so you can use an AirTag than it is to create an account that lets you use that SIM, because realize that even if you use like the most bargain basement network in order to put that SIM on a cellular network, they got to bill you somewhere, which means that they're gonna want to know exactly who you're talking to. So
that would assume that they found it. That would assume they found it. Like that, the thing is that I think that it's actually I think just a lot of people just aren't conscious to how often it's happening.
I think you could do this.
That is a good point.
I think you could do this pretty anonymously, by the way. I'm not encouraging this, but here's a SIM that gives you 250 megabytes of data, which is probably enough for GPS for $5. It's prepaid, so you could probably walk into a 7-Eleven or a store somewhere and buy it with a prepaid card. I think you could probably, if you wanted to. I wouldn't recommend it. Whereas a tracker, even if it's a fake iCloud account, you use the NFC on the tracker, you're going to see exactly whose account it is. Apple, you go to law enforcement, Apple can give them that information. Don't do it. It's stupid. And don't panic. And don't panic if you're seeing these pop-ups. Although, people are doing it. So
if it says it's traveling with you.
Every time I get in the car, it's chirping.
Yeah.
It's like frustrating, but I'm willing to put up with it. I'm not willing.
Washington Post said, among other examples, a woman whose ex sent her back a bunch of her belongings, found an AirTag in the stuff, hidden away in the stuff.
But again, how does she find it? Did her phone tell her that she had it?
Well, if you have an iPhone, you're cool. If you don't, you're disadvantaged, right? You got to get that tracker app, which I never got working, by the way. I don't know.
Yeah.
So are the smart criminals using the Tiles or the Samsung tags because there is no app? I don't know.
I think smart criminals, $50, you can get a GPS tracker and $5 for the SIM. Yeah. I think if you want full-time, high-quality tracking, you're going to do that. You're not going to use an AirTag.
That is
you can get Jessica Jones to follow them.
That's true too. Yeah,
that is a good point, because part of that Ontario police report was that it's not as though they were using just part-time car thief saw an opportunity, went to an Apple store, slapped an AirTag on this, and then used a bent coat hanger and then a raking tool in order to get into the car and start it. Once they got to the car, they had professional level tools to get in. They were able to start the car because, according to the police, they had a tool that was supposed to be only available to dealers that allowed them to plug into the diagnostic port, create a brand new set of digital keys, then start the car and go off. That's not a casual thing. Same thing about, we were talking earlier about, excuse me, I'm sorry. I was listening to the show earlier about Toyota's offering now subscriptions for key fob start, and that is a very, very sophisticated encrypted signal between the two, because car thieves had basically built almost commodity level devices that on the underground they could simply buy and sell that would intercept these unprotected signals from inside a house and then relay them to a car. When you see card skimmers that are installed on in gas terminals and on ATMs, we're not talking about some guy knows a guy who puts together these things. They're almost commercial level products that are sold again on this underground market. So it's hard hard to know. It's hard to say that the AirTags were responsible for these kind of thefts, because it's simply a simpler solution to a problem that this industry already had, which is how do we find a car that we can sell, and how do we get to where it's parked. But yeah, it's the scale of the problem.
Nevertheless, it's a PR problem for Apple. I mean,
absolutely.
I mean, the other thing that I have to say is that I've become, watching lots of TikTok, I become very jaded. Like so when I look at someone like, oh my gosh, I found a thing, it's a really good way to get a lot of views. So I'm not saying it's not happening, but I'm also saying that I look at a lot of these of like, oh my gosh, I found something in my house, or I found something under my whatever. There's an extra room. There's all this stuff. I kind of go, oh, maybe. And so I've kind of learned to, especially individuals, putting it on TikTok or Twitter or whatever, I'm going to need a couple references before I think that that's actually useful. So that's the other thing we have to kind of take with a grain of salt, is that they're putting it on social media, and that's not usually a good source of scandalous news, because it usually is made up most of the time.
It is a good way to get lots of feedback immediately, even if you're not trying to get clicks, even if you're not trying to get views. If you don't have a network of nerds around you, and say, I don't know what I found. I'm in this Airbnb. I've seen this circuit board with some sort of a wire sticking out of it that's behind the alarm clock. I have no idea what it is, and is it a camera? Am I being snooped upon? And that's how you quickly find out that, oh no, this is actually just part of an alarm circuit that basically figures out if the place is being occupied or not. Okay, I'm fine.
The poor woman who tweeted about this has made her account private, because she got 32,000 likes, and all of a sudden all these people, and then the New York Post immediately publishes a giant picture of her with her Twitter handle, and this headline: "This beauty queen's night turned ugly thanks to one alleged bad Apple user." Thank you, New York Post. Well done. So yeah, who's the stalker here? Really, I think the Post might be worse than whoever put the AirTag in her drink. So I can't access this story, Micah. Do you have a paid account to Bloomberg Law? All I can see is the first few words, but it sounds like Apple is suing Ericsson in federal court in Texas,
patent dispute
over strong arm tactics in negotiations to renew a 2015 license for 5G mobile networks. Ericsson, of course.
It's similar to the Qualcomm patent, from what I can tell, where the free,
they're not
whenever you
FRAND.
contribute patents toward. Yeah. Well, no, but the interpretations of FRAND vary. It's supposed to be like something for the collective good, where you contribute your patents to it, they protect them, but they're so essential to the technology that you agree to license them freely and without any form of prejudice. And a lot of companies go, sure, but we're going to charge you $1 billion. And that's not the spirit of the law. But it's not the letter of the law either.
This part of the article's fading out as the paywall takes over, but it looks like Ericsson had actually sued Apple in the same court in October, accusing Apple of negotiating in bad faith. So it's just one of those trade lawsuits.
Put it in the court.
Yeah. And I'm sure the court will resolve it.
What's funny is that with a lot of these, they'll get into their lawyers will figure that out over there in the court, and the rest of them are all the engineers just keep talking to each other. Like, they just keep on working on what they're working on, and it's just like we'll figure out what the referees say, but we'll just keep playing.
Well, in fact, one way Apple's going to handle this is by building, according to Mark Gurman, a new team in Southern California to start making their own wireless chips. They'd like to replace components from Broadcom and Skyworks Solutions. They've already, I think, replaced Qualcomm's, or about to replace.
The problem really is with Ericsson is that it's patents, so they need those patents.
They need the IP
to do. So they need the IP to do the thing. They definitely want to get rid of the chips. I think that Apple, if it left to their own devices, will end up with all their own chips for all their components. But they're still going to need the patents, because that's just the one way to do it, or people only know of one way to do it right now.
Yeah, and I think these patents are unfortunately so broad that even if you came up with a clean room way to do 5G, the patent covers 5G. So it's hard.
The hard part is that when you start doing something that no one's ever done before, you just start. If you're good at patents, you go, well, if I need to do this, then I'll do this. And then, okay, we'll patent that. And then if I need to do that, I need to do that. And then I patent that. And so you just keep on. And Apple does the same thing. I mean, it's like Apple's patenting. There's 200 patents in the Apple phone.
Oh, of course.
I mean, in the camera, just in the phone. So they do the same thing. If you're out in the front, you'll just see a whole bunch of greenfield opportunities, and you'll just start patenting all of them, whether you're going to use them or not.
And you can bet that this new San Diego team that's designing in-house chips has a lawyer attached who is instantly patenting anything they come up with.
They licensed all of Qualcomm's. They as part of their settlement. I think people forget this. They licensed all of Qualcomm's patents. So it's going to be very similar, I think, to an ARM type deal where they license Qualcomm's designs for a while, and then we have like the X55, X60, X65 modem, and then they're just going to license their IP and make their own modems and RF antennas.
Actually, Qualcomm's in San Diego. This new department is in nearby Irvine, not relatively nearby Irvine.
You need it to be close enough for the employees that use Steel to still have
exactly. That's exactly the point, right? We're not going to make you come to Cupertino. Look, we got a nice place in Orange County. Engineers will work on wireless radios, radio frequency integrated circuits, a wireless system on a chip. They'll also develop semiconductors for connecting to Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. All of this to replace Broadcom, Skyworks, and Qualcomm chips. Apple wants to make it all. Of course they do. Of course they do. Let's see here. Where are we? I think another break is in order. We can talk more about new stuff. There's not a lot of stories today, so if you guys have anything you want to talk about, it doesn't have to be timely. If you'd like to talk about opera, Andy, that's coming up.
The browser, not the music.
I'm on it.
Our show today brought to you by userway.org. Userway is doing the Lord's work, if you ask me. They're making websites accessible so that people with disabilities, people who are blind, for instance, can come to your site, can use your shopping cart, can fill out your forms. It's their right to do so. It's the law. The Americans with Disabilities Act says any public entity has to be accessible, and every website is a public entity. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled that in a very famous case. Now, I'm not gonna use that stick against you. The carrot is it's the right thing to do, and it's easy to do with Userway, userway.org. They have an incredible AI-powered solution, very affordable, that tirelessly enforces the hundreds of web content accessibility guidelines, WCAG. And they do it with one line of JavaScript. Much more affordable, much easier than a team of developers doing this. I understand. I have websites, and the thought of making a website accessible can be overwhelming, but Userway's solutions make it simple. It's very cost-effective. Start by going to userway.org/twit and using their free scanning tool. See if your site is compliant to begin with, and it'll give you some idea of what you need to do. The good news is this is very affordable. I compare it to the cost. We spend probably, $40 a month on our web fonts. It's less than that. It's less than that. It's not an expensive thing to do. And think of the people you're adding as customers. And by the way, Userway is the choice. 1 million websites use Userway. Some of the biggest sites in the world: Coca-Cola, Disney, eBay, FedEx, Walmart, UNICEF uses Userway. And now it's making those big, best-in-class enterprise-level accessibility tools available to small and medium-sized business. Operating an accessible and compliant website is not just the right thing to do, it's good business. Millions of people will use Userway to purchase your products. And when you need to scale, Userway can scale with you. What does it do? It fixes all the things you need to do, adds the alt tags so that screen readers know what that picture is, fixes nav menus that even sighted users find complicated. And by the way, it does this all in the accessibility layer. So your site is not going to change to anybody else, but to anybody using a screen reader or other tools for disabled users, it's going to make a huge difference because they use that accessibility layer, which allows them to browse seamlessly, customize it to fit their needs. It'll fix vague link violations, fix broken links, make your website use accessible colors on that accessibility layer. Still true to your brand, they just change the luminance and saturation. The hue stays the same. Userway will also give you a detailed report of all the violations fixed on your website. There's a plugin for many sites like WordPress, works with Shopify, Wix. There's you can use it with AEM, Sitecore, SharePoint. You can use it with any site. If you can put a line of JavaScript in, it'll work. Userway integrates seamlessly with every site. Let UserWay help your business meet its compliance goals and improve the experience for your users. Just ask Susan Bennett, the voice of Siri, what she thinks of UserWay.
Hi, I'm Susan Bennett, the original voice of Siri. You won't hear me say something like this too often. I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're looking for. But every day, that's what the internet is like for millions of people with disabilities. UserWay fixes all of that with just one line of code.
UserWay can make your website, any website, fully accessible and ADA compliant. With UserWay, everyone who visits your site can browse seamlessly, can customize it to fit their needs. Show your brand's commitment to millions of people with disabilities. It's the right thing to do. Go to userway.org/twit. Get 30% off UserWay's AI-powered accessibility solution. UserWay, making the internet accessible for everyone. Userway.org/twit. We thank them so much for the good job they do and for supporting our show. You support our show, by the way. When you use those special addresses we give you, that's really important. That's how companies say, oh, they saw that on MacBreak Weekly. So don't forget, it's userway.org/twit. Okay? You don't have to say MacBreak Weekly. They know. That twit's good enough. Userway.org/twit. Let's see here.
Lots of camera news this week.
Camera. iPhone 13 Pro beaten out by the Pixel 5a, according to MKBHD's annual blind camera test.
The Poco phone got screwed. It won the first year, and then ever since the first year, they just buried that Poco phone because they know that the oversaturated, very simplified imaging is exactly what the internet needs and wants.
Yeah,
that's Poco phone. They rested on their laurels. Okay, they it's like that winery, that one really great thing that they went on expansion, so the Poco phone is everywhere now. But now the camera's not as good.
That's the problem, of course, with these kinds of tests. This is not. These are not experts. It's a bracket, subjective bracket, and what is it? Is it his viewers that vote on this? Is that
So originally he did it on Twitter and Instagram because he had access to a beta Twitter feature that let him put images alongside polls, unlike us normal humans who had to choose one or the other. But Twitter got rid of that feature entirely, so he had to use just Instagram. And he frames it that way. It's a social experiment on his part to see what resonates with people looking on small screens at social networking.
And Instagram squashes those pictures too, right? You're not seeing the original.
It's that, but it's also he's found trends over the years. Like previously, the brightest photo would always win.
Right.
Like it didn't matter how good it was if windows were blown out. People just liked brighter images. They liked warmer skin tones. So it's these trends, and some phones like Google this year is an exception, but usually Google, Apple, even Samsung, they would try to produce normal looking images, and a lot of the cheaper phones would just crush the blacks, boost the sat, and people would choose those because that's a more appealing image, even if it's not technically correct or as easy to edit afterwards as a more neutral image. And other people are paying attention. And now, Google's got very crisp, very clean, saturated looks. Apple has those new photo modes where you can choose to make every photo automatically crushed and saturated. So they're learning. It's just they're not learning as fast as some of those other cameras.
Well, I should also point out that the 5a actually beat the Pixel 6 Pro. It's big brother. It's the later generation. So it's, okay, take it with a grain of salt. It's kind of like when you go into the department store to choose a TV and try to compare TVs.
Most people don't edit. They just take a photo and they want to post it.
Well, that's true.
Don't want to bother with having to edit it.
Right. That's true. Right. Hey, I'm really happy about this, and I hope it's not somebody's pick. Pixelmator Photo is now available on the iPhone. If it's your pick, we won't go any farther.
It's a great app.
Yeah. I love Pixelmator Photo. Was it only iPad before? I didn't realize that.
I think so,
Yeah, I think so.
And if you use Pixelmator Pro on the Mac, I think you have all the features of Pixelmator Photo, I believe. I'm sorry, Renee, I talked over you. What?
No, I was making a joke about how Andy just posted his squirrel photos, but I am curious to know if they do all the machine learning stuff in this, because that was what I miss most. Like Pixelmator on the Mac, the machine learning they do for a lot of the super res zoom and for the denoise is fantastic, and it just wasn't there on almost any app previously on the iPhone.
Yeah, it's a very important move too, because the level. I've often said that the amount of processing power on the iPhone is suspiciously high, meaning that it benchmarks amazing. The technology on the die is amazing, but how much processing power do you need for your typical iPhone usage? It's good to see apps like this. They're really reaching into stuff that you couldn't be able to do otherwise without this sort of stuff. And also, we're finally seeing, I think in the past year or two, we've seen mobile editors, thanks both to local processing power, AI-based filters, and the super quality of the screen, as being almost like a first-party editing surface for editing photos. I mean, one of the factors that went into my buying a brand new iPad Pro this year was that it would be the highest quality screen I have in the entire office. I absolutely can't justify buying a 27-inch like super XDR whatever quality screen because I'm just not going to use it that way. However, the idea of being able to do photo edits on what I can think of as this is going to be the canonical greatest possible way that this photo will ever be seen is such a big win. And there are more and more people now that are discovering that editing photos on mobile is more than simply sliding brightness, sliding whatever, adding a vignette, crossing your fingers, and then posting it to Instagram. In my last trip to New York, I was actually using the iPad as my first priority editing surface for all the stuff that I would slurp into this device, edit it on device, then post from device, and then when I get back to Photoshop, the real desktop quote editor, finding that there's really nothing else I'd like to add or do to this because I was able to do such perfect edits to my eye on the iPad. So this is such a big thing for the iPhone.
Will Pixelmator Photo run on the Mac? Has anybody tried installing it on the Mac? Because there are differences. I think you were about to say this.
I think.
Well, so I'm getting this from the Pixelmator community. Andreas, who's on the Pixelmator team, said there are differences between Pixelmator Pro, which is the Mac version, and Pixelmator Photo on iOS. Photo is, the entire workflow is non-destructive. Pro is, he says, more of a layer-based editor. And while it is non-destructive for the most part, certain things aren't quite as easy to undo or later adjust once you've made other edits. The image opening experience in Photos is oriented around your Photos library, which is, that's true. So I guess that's a convenience thing. And he also says batch editing is built into Pixelmator Photo and not available in the Pro Mac version. You can create batch workflows and process hundreds of photos right in the app. So in a way, I wonder why they don't include... I'm sorry, I keep stepping on you, Renee. I wonder...
No, it's me.
I wonder why they don't include more of those features in Pixelmator Pro. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Micah said that they do have the ML stuff, which is amazing because that stuff is just so transformed. Like this ability to restore bad internet photos that you might get or need to use, or not just bad, old. Like the resolution was so bad in the early days of the internet. We have all these photos taken with like older iPhones and things, which looked great at the time, but they're noisy, especially in low light, or they're just not there. And a lot of the modern machine learning stuff is, I don't want to say miraculous, I don't want to oversell it, but being able to get rid of JPEG compression artifacts, noise, being able to do zoom without it being so destructive. Like a lot of the ML-based zoom, they have machine learning-based color correction. Not perfect, but it can get you so close, so fast that you're not spending 5 minutes dialing all the basic knobs. And I think that's like the best part of machine learning is to do the grunt work for you. The artist still has to tune it, but I've been using that more than Photoshop for a lot of the photo stuff because they are so good at it. And Photoshop is just, now making those filters available. So I love that that's on the iPhone. I don't have to go running back to my Mac.
Aurelia, also on the Pixelmator team, says both apps are based on the same machine learning algorithm. So the images they create should be pretty much the same quality-wise. However, while Pixelmator Photo calculates the amount of scaling automatically based on the size and bit depth of an image, in Pixelmator Pro, you can choose to scale images to a specific size. That's the difference there.
Machine learning is so fast.
Can I just add to what Renee was saying that I have to say that one of the biggest blessings of surviving into 2021 is when you go back, it's great to be able to take pictures with your new $1,000 phone, add these tweaks and make them even better than they were. But the real blessing is when you go deep back into like 2000, 2003, 2004. These pictures that I took maybe with like one of the first, I have one of my favorite, most valuable pictures is a selfie that I took with my dad in like 2003, 2004, whatever it was, whatever Nikon's first like Coolpix camera was, the first one that really worked, because he was an engineer, he was a nerd. I couldn't wait to go to his house and like show him this new camera because I knew he'd be excited about it. And so just to show him like, no, see, you don't have to wait. See, the picture like is actually right there on the screen after we take the picture. Quickly took a selfie with him. Yes, before selfie cameras, and it's just a natural, spontaneous, just. My dad's smiling really naturally. I'm smiling really naturally, but it's a 2004, 2005 picture, and the ability to go back to that, and it's great for reasons that are not technical. But now to upscale the resolution so it looks great as an 8x10 print, to fix the color so it looks beautiful that way, to be able to maybe get some distractions out of the background. It really is like renewing your contact with these pictures that maybe you might have even not kept because they were so marginal, like, oh god, the sky is blown out, or oh well, there's a person like picking his nose in the background, so I can't use that. The fact that you kept these means that now you have this treasure trove of new, beautiful art that you can then restore without having to spend a week or two with advanced Photoshop techniques. This is, I don't use the word blessing lightly. Sometimes recovering these memories and making them, restoring their proper position into the history, your memory book, your story of what your family was like, what your friends were like, what your life was like. It's paving over these gaps that didn't have to exist but now don't exist anymore. That's one of the best things ever.
Doug M in our chat room says that he tried, I don't know if he just tried on my request to install Pixelmator Photo on his M1 Mini, and it did not seem like they're allowing it, which is too bad. Is that the developer? I guess the developer says you can't. Yes.
Yeah. They don't want to cannibalize their more expensive Mac apps most of the time.
Yeah. And since Pro does pretty much everything, I would like Photo. We live in a pretty remarkable time. There's so many good photo apps for both the Mac and the iPad. It's just remarkable. You probably saw this, Alex. ProRes export speed on the M1 Max MacBook Pro even beats a 2019 Mac Pro by like a lot.
Turns out if you have dedicated hardware, it helps. I mean, you put a chip in there that is built for that, and everything gets modernized. I think that for editors, I've been kind of putting it off because I still work in a lot of Blackmagic RAW, so it doesn't affect me quite the same way. But in a ProRes world, I think that it's almost impossible to ignore the Macs. Laptop, and I'm hoping that we see those dedicated processors in a Mac Mini, in the spring, because it's just incredible.
Even a 2019 Mac Pro with Afterburner is half as fast as the M1 Max MacBook Pro.
Yeah, and I think that what this also, we have to remember, this is the M1. When we expect to get some kind of M1 Max or M2 Max or whatever by the time we get to the Pro. So when the new Pro comes out, I think it's going to be screaming.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of that is just like the Afterburner chips are the same, but now they're on die with access to universal memory, no copying back and forth, and with everything else. So it's an accelerated Afterburner.
Well, and I think that it puts a lot of pressure on a lot of camera manufacturers, video camera manufacturers, to include ProRes, because there's going to be a point, where it's really, and unless someone really comes up with something new, if all the Apple high-end tools are suddenly rendering all of this that much faster, and it's one thing for it to render HD, but when we start talking about 6K and 8K, and we start talking about a high frame rate, those chips are going to be, you have to have them. Like, you have to have it in Apple ProRes, and you have to have those chips to do the production at a remotely reasonable speed. Because I can tell you from experience, you start putting 8K 120 into a computer, it's a slow process. So it takes a while to process.
To reiterate what you've said before, Renee, all of the existing M1 chips are A14 based.
Yes.
A15, which is now in the iPhone 13, will be the base for the next generation chips, which sounds to me like anything Apple releases next year, and next year is a week off, will be an M2 or something. Will be based on the 15. Is that right?
Anything second, yeah. So anything, well, it depends. So there was a report yesterday that said that Apple might use an 18-month schedule for the pro level silicon, which is not that's not unheard of, because there was an A10X and A12X and Z and an A14X, which was the M1, but there was no A11X, there was no A13X. So they skipped generations for the more powerful versions because they were more about massive multi-threaded operations, not as dependent on single core performance. So if we see an M2 in first half of 2022, like with the MacBook Air, it'll almost certainly be based on A15 IP generation. If it goes into the fall, it'll get closer to being, A16, which is nice because that's like the 3 to 4 nanometer process node, all of those advances. But then it's unclear if there'll be like a M2 Pro or M2 Max anytime soon. That might wait until the next year and then be based on M3 instead. So it's just it's so funny because Apple still has limited bandwidth. That's why we don't get every Mac renewed every year. They have small teams. They work very focused approach. They can only push out so much product. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if we see like Pros 1 year, ultra low power the next year, and then they just keep tick-tocking like that.
The rumor is, at least according to Digitimes, that the new 27-inch iMac with mini LED display is on track for a launch in the first half of 2022.
Yeah. That'd be M1 Pro and M1 Max.
So you think that's what it'll have? It'll have the M1 Pro and Max in it.
Yeah. And a dual M1 Max option. And then the Mac Pro will have up to a quad M1 Max option. Still within the thermal envelope of just a single overclocked Intel Alder Lake.
Yeah.
There was also a really good rumor.
Go ahead. Sorry. No, rumor on, and they're all just rumors. No rumor is better than any other rumor. They're all made up. A couple of people now, Mark Gurman and a few others, have said that, and we've heard this for a while, that Apple might re-enter the consumer display space. And there was a rumor from Dylan DDK, who's been very accurate so far, especially when it comes to display technology, that LG is testing a 24-inch display very similar to the iMac, a 27-inch display very similar to the MacBook Pro, which is mini LED, 120 hertz, and also a second generation Pro Display XDR, which didn't quite make it into mini LED. It's regular LED, so it doesn't have as many display zones as local dimming zones as a mini LED panel. A second generation version of that, all of them powered with new Apple display chips, like the latest Apple display chips. And that's something I've wanted. I don't want to have to pay $6K for a 6K display, Leo. I will happily play $1K for a 4K or 5K display. It doesn't have to have all the features of a reference monitor. And I would be so, and I don't mean to just keep relitigating this, but it is so hard to find a good display for many reasons. Like, a lot of companies don't care. A lot of them put really bad matte coatings on them that make everything look blurry no matter what the resolution of the display. A lot of them don't bother to color calibrate them at the factory. LG Ultrafine is okay, but LG's containers are crap. Like, their first generation didn't have any shielding, so they interfered with Wi-Fi monitors. Second generations tore down the middle. They don't put the same kind of fit and finish that Apple does with those exact same panels. So if Apple would just release the same iMac and iMac Pro displays as standalone panels, I think us nerds would be super happy for the next year. Yeah. They famously stopped making displays. Then they came out with the XDR, which was, as you point out, prohibitively expensive for most of us. 6K for 6K. It's prohibitively expensive, but in the world that it lives in, it's pretty useful. No, it's not expensive when you compare it to them. But they just don't have a product line for anybody else than to serve the rest of the market. High-end pros, yeah. I think it's just hard because there's like, where's the the no man's land of a lot of people want 2,000 or below. And once you go over 2,000, then it gets into a really weird place. And so I think that Apple doesn't know how to fit a large monitor into $2,000. I think that's a real problem for them. And so I think that just the way they work, their methodology doesn't fit into that box. And it seems like the real pinch is there's a ton of stuff that is competitive under $2,000. And once you go over $2,000, it's how much is the hard market? It's like 4,000. 700 for the 4K, 900. Oh, the new one though. The new one. I thought the LG Ultrafine, the 5K that they were selling until they had the XDR. That was around 900, but it might have gone down. So that was pretty inexpensive. Two of them. Apple probably didn't want to make a $900 one, but they could have made a or a $1,500 one with a better case that panel.
They were just
It's just super competitive.
Like they wanted to lower the amount of stuff they were making. That's why they got rid of routers. They got rid of monitors. They needed to pare things back a bit.
So why would they get back into the monitor business?
Well, because next year they're coming out with M2, M3, whatever, Mac Minis and maybe Mac Pros. So they're going to want to have really nice monitors to sell alongside them. They're selling those to professionals.
Yeah, it's a confusing market. If you buy a Mac Mini, like I buy cheap monitors for my Mac Minis because I just need them to do the thing that they're doing. But it's confusing to try to find one that really works with the Mac Mini well and has a fit and finish, as Renee said, that is what you want. So I think I think they see that. Also, I think that there is a potential for AR to blend seamlessly with your TV experience. And if you start thinking about that, having control of the TV might make it more useful. Like having the TV know what it's doing in relationship to an AR device, so that you can have something expand off of it. Not having control of that TV may prove to be problematic. It doesn't mean that you couldn't do it. It just means that you couldn't do it as well. So if someone really wants the full experience of what they're doing, they may want to have the TV and the AR, whether it's a phone or anything else, be able to interact with each other.
So you're saying Apple wants to get back into the display business for future products?
It's going to take them a long time to warm up. If you wanted a display really selling and really part of the ecosystem 2 years from now, you'd have to start selling it probably sometime next year.
There's one other kind of out of left field thing. Scott Wilkinson has been telling me he can't talk about it. He's under non-disclosure. But there will be a new television technology announced at CES this next week or the week after, January 5th, that no one's talked about before. Now, we're not talking micro LED but there's something brand new. And I asked him, I said, okay, I know you can't tell me, but is this change the playing field? He said, yes. And it may well be Apple knows about this and is looking at monitors in this technology. Who knows? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
These are supposed to be mini LED, but people are talking about micro LED. But as far as I know, that hasn't gone anywhere.
It exists. It's out there. Yeah. I mean, Samsung showed it.
Well, micro LED, but micro OLED is like
I don't know what micro
better than
OLED
micro
is.
LED.
What is micro
smaller
OLED?
Smaller OLED pixels.
Micro LED is very attractive, but very expensive right now, and also there's manufacturing issues. Anyway, I don't know what it is that he's talking about. Maybe it is micro OLED. That would be whatever that is. I don't know. That'd be very interesting. I can't believe LG is advertising their roll-up TV on football games. They don't mention that it's like $80,000. Yeah. I don't understand so there's something going on anyway. We'll find out. Just a couple of weeks. Scott promises he will tell me on the first Tech Guy after CES, which is January 8th. So you might want to.
It's useful to make. It's just useful to make the brand of LG roll-up displays in general more valuable, so that when you come out with no one's going to be buying a roll-up widescreen TV, but when they're in a phone store a year from now and they say, oh, well, it uses an LG roll-up panel for this phone, like, ooh, LG, I understand that they're doing I understand from football commentators that it's doing wonderful things in this technology
It's
space.
funny, even if you go to the LG site, it says there's a button, it doesn't say the price, it just says inquire. To buy.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want it, we should have a talk.
I'm flattered that with device fingerprinting, that if I hit this site, it's actually going to even show me something like that. I said, no, he's not going to be able to buy this. He's just a looky-loo.
We should talk. Let's see your wallet. Contact your representative, it says. You can advertise it on football games. Doesn't mean anybody watching can buy it. All right. We didn't finish the rumor on the 27-inch iMac. Apparently, it's going to look like the 24s. It'll be colors, ProMotion display. These are all different rumor mongers. This is from Dylan DKT. Powered by the same M1 Pro and M1 Max. I got the feeling, Renee, that you don't think there'll be an M2 this year, in 2022, next year.
Well, I think there will be. I think the M2 is going to be for the ultra low power machine. So that's going to be for the new MacBook Air, the new 2-port MacBook Pro.
It's not like the super fast M1. So if you want a Mac Pro, for instance, the next Mac Pro will be multi-core M1 Max.
Yes.
Okay.
And then eventually there might be an M2 Pro and an M2
But that
Max,
might be a year and a half
M3 Pro
out.
and M3 Max.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like Apple scales both generationally, but also in terms of the number of cores.
So that's
and the number
something
of cores is what makes the Pro machine.
That's something to remember. Just because it's the M2 doesn't mean it supersedes all the M1s. In fact, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It supersedes
It's like
the original
for a while,
M1.
Apple sold the A12X in the iPad Pro and the A13 in the iPhone. And the single core in the A13 iPhone was great, but it couldn't match the multi-core in the massively multi-core, A12. It's confusing.
And as long as we're in the wild rumor area, Ming Chi Kuo says the iPhone 14 will have a 48 megapixel camera and the iPhone 15 will have a periscope lens. Yep.
Yep.
I don't know what to say about that.
48 megapixels meaning pixel binning, so a higher resolution, a higher quality 12 megapixel picture that is basically now a 2x2 pixel sensor as opposed to a tiny 1x1 pixel sensor. It's similar to the components that are basically becoming commodified on the Android side of things, and so the secret sauce there is when you take a much higher sophistication component like that and then add Apple's signal processing and AI to it, that could be quite interesting.
And then the
There was a couple of
periscope
good points
we saw
about it too that made
Go
it.
ahead.
Oh, sorry. Oh, no, I was just going to say, one of the problems with pixel binning is that sometimes people take a sensor, just chop it up into more pieces and call it a bigger sensor, but you actually lose light because the pixels themselves end up being smaller, where in this case, Apple's supposedly going to increase the size of the micro pixel. So it'll go from 1.9 microns to like 2.3, 2.4 microns once they've been binned. But also, you can't do 8K on a 12 megapixel sensor.
Yeah.
There's just not enough resolution for it. So if you want to go to 8K, you've got to go to 48 to 48 megapixels, and you can bin them or not bin them. And then computationally, you can also layer non-binned pixels on top of binned pixels if your processor is fast enough. And then you can sort of start to better win that battle between detail and noise, because you can get the detail from the non-bin picture, reduce the noise to the bin picture, and then sort of pick and choose on a pixel by pixel basis. So it's going to get really exciting.
Yeah, like for first 4 terabyte storage iPhone, because imagine shooting 8K onto a local device.
You're gonna have to solve that problem.
The first one with an external cooler on it with MagSafe. That would be stunning.
24 gigabytes per minute. 24 gigabytes per minute. Please don't have a lightning cable. Please don't have a USB 2.0 cable.
Explain to me what a periscope lens is.
It's just a lens.
It's normally with a telephoto lens. That's why they look longer optically. To get that kind of magnification, you need to basically have a lens that's farther away from the sensor, the thing you're aiming it at. With a zoom, you can't do that with a phone because the phone is just this thick. Periscope lens means that they basically have a periscope that's facing the lens element, so that's actually firing sideways, so you can actually get that extra length. So that means that instead of getting sort of a very fakey, very, very low quality like 4x or 10x zoom, you can actually get a legitimate 10x zoom. And again, this is now, it's been around for enough years that all the problems have been shaken out of it, and it does some really fantastic stuff. I have a periscope lens on my Pixel 6 Pro, and the first time I went into my usual test places, even in low light, taking a mural that's on the ceiling of a dark hallway was just amazingly sharp, amazing detail, and it basically justified upgrading my phone that year. So again, putting that into an iPhone, there are a lot of like really, really cheap phones that say, hey, we're the first to have this the folding lens, we're the first to have this new 48 megapixel sensor. But again, you take really, really crappy high resolution pictures. You're taking really, really crappy telephoto pictures. Putting that into the hands of iPhone engineers is going to be something special if that happens.
Yeah, see, I'm an idiot. I thought it actually had a periscope that would come up out of them.
Well, I mean, it's like a periscope. It's just sideways and flat.
You got to admit, that would be really cool. Like, it would be cool to...
Oppo made one.
I can take a picture over the wall.
Yeah, OnePlus had a selfie cam that would go...
Right.
But I didn't realize, so this periscope technology is in the Pixel 6 Pro.
Yep.
Yeah.
See, I have a Pixel 6 Pro. Is that why when I shake it, it rattles a little bit? I'm breaking the periscope. Is that what's going on there?
No, it's just the little submarine commanders are shaking his fists saying, God. Yeah.
dive. So,
No, but it's a really clever way to solve for Z-index. Like you basically, instead of having it project all the way out, you flatten it sideways and then mirror it back out.
I have to say the zoom on the Pixel 6 Pro is really remarkable. So that's why it's a periscope.
Yes.
And also, again, same thing. When you take good hardware and then match it with really smart technology, like the Pixel camera is doing stuff like when you manually zoom, you're not just giving a number to the to the camera app saying, "Oh, by the way, I want you to make it look this way." While it's zooming, the fact that you're kind of jiggling a little bit, you can't help it. It's actually collecting information during the zoom, so it can figure out how to fill in data between the pixels, so you can get an even better zoom. This is probably one of the reasons why the 5A does so well in tests, because when you take the fake ways you have of expanding dynamic range, adding detail, adding zoom, and then you basically add those fake details, fake technologies to actual real optics, it's going to be pretty cool. I can't wait to see it if it happens.
Yeah. Is there any? You said there was a lot of camera news. Did we cover it all, Andy?
I think we did.
Okay, I want to make sure you were satisfied.
I am sated.
Sated?
I could go for another piece of pumpkin pie in about an hour and a half, but for now,
it's a sideways periscope. It's a sideways. It's going inside.
Exactly.
It's sideways.
Right.
It's a zoom lens inside the camera. It's
an innie, not an outie periscope, Leo.
It's an innie?
It's an innie. It's inside the camera, not outside the camera.
I'm just so confused.
It's not a mechanical zoom. It is another telephoto lens, but of course it acts as a zoom when you interpolate between like the lower the lower focal length lens and the higher one.
Okay. TSA will be rolling out support for Apple Wallet IDs starting in February of next year. That means it, but of course you'd have to be in a state where the ID is supported. The mobile driver's license is supported there now, according to Secure Technology Alliance. At least 30 U.S. states are getting ready to do that. Mobile driver's license.
Doesn't SFO not use TSA famously?
They have TSA, don't they, at SFO?
I thought SFO had
they've
their
got
own.
somebody scary. Oh yeah, they might use their own rental TSA. Now, this isn't necessarily Apple's mobile driver's license. That I learned last episode is that others are doing mobile driver's licenses that aren't based on the Apple Wallet. TSA is preparing its phased rollout with MDL mobile driver's licenses with Apple Wallet integration as its first step, which will allow select security checkpoints in participating airports, in other words, not mine, to be the first locations people can use their MDL in the Wallet app. So, 2 state locations starting February of next year, 2 additional states around March. Yeah, but it's so nice. Travelers will simply tap an NFC reader or use a QR scanner to initiate the data exchange instead of the TSA examining your physical ID card, holding it up saying, lower your mask. Oh, yeah, you look like that guy. And the ticket and all that. The machine will do it all. You just tap the NFC reader. I like this.
Yeah,
Real ID
especially gets people through faster.
Real ID Act will be updated to accompany the regulatory changes necessary to enable this to happen. I guess I don't know if all mobile driver's licenses are Real ID. I know in the state of California you can get a driver's license that's not a Real ID. You have your choice. So I don't know how that's going to work. Well, it happened again. Poor Mario Benicio. He bought an Apple Watch. I don't know why we have this here. It's in Portuguese, so I don't understand it. He bought an Apple Watch. I'm guessing an Apple Watch Series 6 because I guess he's not a.
When I looked at the picture, I thought I was like, and then he got a frog.
He got he got a rock. He got a rock. As I think if my Portuguese is correct, he got a rock and not a frog. I don't know why this is even a news story. Careful where you buy your Apple Watch, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there are a lot of stuff like that. I've read a story again on social media. So as Alex said, it's a story on social media about how there's some Apple stores that are letting you basically use Uber as a delivery service for 2 hours, And they were saying that, yeah, well, basically, I used this service, and the Uber driver basically logged it as delivered, and I never saw it. And now there's an argument about who belongs to who.
I actually did that. They do that here too. Like you can order from the Apple Store same day, and sometimes they just send it over like Uber or over Lyft or something else. And I ordered one of each HomePod color because, of course, I did. And only two. The guy came with two of them, and I said I ordered 5, and he goes, "I've only got 2." And I said I ordered 5, and he said I've only got 2. And he's like, "Well, you're gonna take them?" I'm like, "No, because I ordered 5, and if I take them, I'm saying that you delivered them." But I managed to call Apple, and they were very apologetic. And all of them, they said, "You need the other 3." I'm like, "No, I need all 5." They arrived 2 days later over delivery.
It is very ugly rock too, by the way.
Yeah, he should have sent something like a rock that he thought, well, maybe I'll keep it because it's so pretty.
Yeah, I love my rock, but can I have a watch?
Now, to be fair, it's a rock that was once owned by a very famous footballer. So on eBay, maybe you can actually make money on this thing.
Exactly. It's all about the story.
Yes. Provenance.
I cannot find anything else to talk about. Is there anything else on your docket, Renee Ritchie, that you would like to bring up?
Oh, wow. Leo,
how about the tardigrade who survived being placed in a strange quantum state? I don't know why. I just like this story, and I just like pictures of tardigrades. So
I was watching Wired's explanation of quantum gravity, and that was enough for me, Leo. We're a two-dimensional information surface that's being projected into 3D. Nothing is real anymore. We're a 7th level simulation. We are some aliens video game inside an aliens video game.
You just can't handle the quantum mechanics, my friend.
I can't. We live in a world with walls, son. Who's going to guard those walls? You, Lieutenant Weinberg.
Has anybody watched the Claymation Ted Lasso holiday special yet?
I'm saving it.
For what?
For Christmas.
The missing Christmas mustache.
It's going to be like the Community one. It's going to be so beautiful.
You know, we started with my daughter wanted to watch a Christmas movie every night this week, and we watched Elf last night. It's such a weird film. It's really good, but it's just like there's huge parts of it.
Especially when he's sitting at the table, the giant elf sitting at the anyway. Yes, it's very weird.
No, the funny thing is he's interacting with the stop motion.
Oh yeah.
Like they which evidently I watched the behind the scenes. Evidently that was a big deal. Like they got
here's the
didn't understand
the trailer that Apple sent out for this. I guess I don't know I guess it's Ted. I guess they couldn't get Jason Sudeikis to shave his mustache, so they had to do it in claymation so that they could simulate Ted Lasso without a mustache. I guess
they got Henry Cavill's technology there. They can just like reboot that thing where they took off his mustache for the Superman reshoots.
Is that what they
Wait a minute. This is one of the lines. Hey guys, sorry I was being such a straight, white, cisgender male version of the Grinch earlier. All right, I'm going to pass. I'm just going to say this is not Christmas to me, but okay. You know what?
Okay.
It's making up for the lack of those traditional Christmas things, the Frosty the Snowman, and what was the claymation one that they did? I miss all of those.
California Christmas for the California. Well, the thing is,
I did not miss that.
We create brand new traditions. It's like this year. I should almost put together a playlist because there are like online videos on YouTube that I seem to play every single year on Christmas, and now I kind of save it for. One is Darlene Love singing "Christmas Baby, Please Come Home."
That's
like
a great one.
Show.
That's a great one.
Another one is have you ever seen the Try Channel? It's like a bunch of like Irish YouTubers who basically try things, like experience things for the first time, like food, drink, things like that. And so 2 years ago, they decided to have like 3 different groups get one of those alcohol advent calendars. So it's basically an hour and a half of like compressed together video of the day that like each of these two-person teams spent working their way through an entire like a beer advent calendar, an entire whiskey advent calendar.
That's my kind of Christmas special.
And they're funny, and they're not like they're funny and they're charming, and it's like I kind of want to watch this every single year. So yeah, maybe we don't get a brand new like claymation specials that are as charming as like what we had when we were kids. But then again, there's still there's things that we look forward to without knowing that we really were looking forward to them.
No Nestor the long-eared Christmas donkey for you this year. But I do miss Burl Ives and the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and all of that.
And the Norelco shaver.
The Norelco shaver.
Stop. Noelco, yes.
Noelco. Oh wow! I bet you can watch. Let me see if I can find that on.
Oh, it's there
YouTube.
somewhere.
The Norelco shaver ad. Here it is from 1970s. We're old. We're old. Holiday ad classics, and this is the. Wait a minute, I just have to skip ahead. I don't know why they're playing long intro music. Here we go. There he is.
And Norelco has the quality.
There he goes. Santa on an electric shaver.
Give her sleek new ways.
As a little kid, I really appreciated that the shaver sled was actually making tracks in the snow.
You noticed.
Even as a
you notice the
little
little
kid.
details. Yeah, you really care. How many of these appliances do you have? Norelco. There he goes. Yeah. Okay. Is Norelco still around?
I don't know. It's probably owned, probably now like a Chinese trademark. They bought the IP and now they put it on like really weird LED lights and stuff.
All right. We're going to take a break. Come back. Your picks are just around the corner as we continue the last MacBreak Weekly of the year. Now, you may say, but the year's not over. What about the 28th? Well, next week is our best of. And actually, for this show, the best of is full of great stuff because there were lots of fun moments in the year 2021. So that'll be next week. And that's so we can give everybody the week off. Everybody's going to go home. The studio will be dark for next week. And then we will be back with MacBreak Weekly on the first Wednesday in Tuesday. Didn't move it. Tuesday in January 4th. We will all be here gathered together for you. What are you doing? Are you doing anything special for Christmas, Renee? Are you going to get together with Georgia Dow's kids or?
We've been like shut down again. So they took their previous holiday limits, which was I think 20 people from 3 households, and now it's like 7 people from 1.5 households. It's some ridiculous number. So we're going to, I think, chill as much as we can. And I'll probably end up doing a bunch of Zoom stuff again. Yeah,
I think Lisa's family is coming over for prime rib on Christmas Day, but it'll be a relatively small gathering. How about you, Alex? You got a big
my wife's family, my wife's parents are coming up
nice.
From Southern California. And then that's pretty much it.
Good. And you probably, and as I said, office hours continues.
Oh,
Christmas Day.
We don't take any time off.
No time
off. No. We've gone 650 straight days, so there's no reason to slow it down now.
Stop now. Oh, so this is not your first office hours Christmas?
No. We did it last year too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we and Easter and all the other
There's
things.
a precedent.
We've not
stopped for no man.
Exactly. Usually those days are actually more popular because there's a whole bunch of people that
home.
Well, what's interesting is that there's a whole bunch of people also that I can't kind of stay conscious to that don't have a family coming over, don't have anybody else. Especially last year it was lockdown, so they're by themselves, and so that morning was actually more important to a group of people, some folks, because that was their someone to hang out with, And
thanks to Omicron, it might be the same this year.
We'll see.
How about you, Andy? Are you sous videing the Christmas turkey or?
Don't know yet. I mean, Omicron. I have not received my booster yet, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna reel it in. Although I will tell you that I do have an appointment. I scheduled like last week the first available appointment for the nearest place, and it turned out to be New Year's Eve.
Oh,
so I'm gonna
God.
So it's fine. I can make you the excuse that if I feel and look like trash the next couple of days, I can say, oh, no, I got the booster shot. It's not because I decided to open and drink every single alcoholic present I received over Christmas this year and last year.
I got the booster on Thursday, and I've been a little bit, I've not been sick, but just weird.
I know a few people that even if they wrote out, I had no problems with the original 2 injections. I do know some people that for whatever reason they said, well, I wrote out the first 2 with no problem, but the booster kicked my ass.
Yeah,
but that's fine. It's more important that you get it than have one day in which you feel like, even if take the risk of feeling like trash, and it's just a risk of feeling like trash for like a day, than deal with what happens when you're not boosted.
We failed with our booster program in Quebec. Like we're hoping to get it back on track. We totally failed, but I ended up getting 3 shots because the U.S. didn't accept my first shot, AstraZeneca, and it sounded like things were going to start opening again. So I had to get a second Moderna shot as well. So I went Astra, Moderna, and Astra knocked me out for 24 hours, literally asleep, woke up feeling like Superman. Moderna knocked me out for 48 hours.
Oh.
Fell asleep, woke up feeling like Superman. Nurse joked, "Oh, this will knock you out for 72 hours." But I was really just kind of tired for 24 hours. I was still functional.
That's
then
basically what happened to me. Yeah. I'm thinking I'll get a shot every month from now on. I'm on my
it's gonna
fifth
be like the
booster.
flu shot, right? That's what it's going to end up being.
I don't know what it's going to end up. You know what? No one knows what it's going to end up like being. And that's the hard part. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. It's just...
The theory I saw was that it's going to burn down. It won't be novel anymore. Like we just had no historic immunity to it. And it'll be similar to the flu where you get mildly, like you get like, there's the negative results go away.
Yeah.
It will mostly go away.
That's a good theory. Unless, variant of concern omega is fatal. And then, then that theory.
Well, no, see, fatal's not bad. That's the whole thing. It's
fatal
like
burns out
like
the
Ebola
same.
And things.
Yeah.
Well, the fatal burns out fast. Like if it's like Ebola, it just kills people so fast it can't spread that far.
Right.
It's when it's like just lethal enough.
Slightly fatal. You just want slightly fatal. Yeah.
That's the worst.
All right. Get your picks ready, boys. What, Alex? You say something?
No.
Our show today brought to you by CashFly. Quite literally, it's our CDN, our content delivery network. CashFly's been in the biz since 1999. We've been using them practically since we began almost 15 years ago. CashFly now is offering something very cool, ultra-low latency streaming. And I'm not talking the WebRTC solution that's let us all down in the past. Stream delays with CashFly's ULLS, less than 1 second. But there's more. You've got a great HTML5 player with an SDK, which means you can put your player anywhere, websites, applications, mobile, any other platform. That's nice. With global delivery, CashFly is the fastest CDN for throughput globally. Over 50 points of presence all over the world. So that means your videos will be streaming quickly anywhere you have viewers, regardless of what continent they're on. And man, does it scale. More than 1 million users concurrently, as well as ingesting thousands of synchronous streams. They can ingest RTMP, RTMPS, SRT, and more to deliver ultra-low latency SLDP and HLS streams at the same time. Their platform's designed for transmuxing thousands of streams simultaneously with live failover. And the best thing about CashFly, you'll get a custom solution built for your unique needs, all on top of their reliable, robust global network with ingest and delivery wherever you are or your customers are. 24/7, 365-day-a-year customer support. It's fantastic. They're always there when you need them, priority support. And I have to say, CashFly has always been a wonderful partner. We really love working with them. Their infrastructure can support more than 1 million concurrent streams today, right now, 5 times faster than other CDNs. It's the world's most reliable CDN, backed by a 100% SLA. Just for Twit listeners, CashFly is giving away a complimentary detailed analysis of your current CDN bill and usage trends. You may be overpaying. Find out. Bring your bill, your usage trends to twit.cashfly.com. No hard sales, just information. twit.cashfly.com. Thank you, CashFly, for all you do for us. It's been a great year with CashFly this year. Picks of the week time. Let's start with Alex Lindsay.
So this is a kind of a fun one.
Yay!
We have someone who joined our office hours, and he does a virtual Santa over Zoom, and it is amazing.
Oh, that's
amazing!
Cute. Oh, look at it! Wow!
Like, it is. We just kept on like our. He came on and he was asking some questions about a couple things, and he's trying to figure a couple things out. But he's got these 3D. You know, he's all there, and he's got these. You know, you can.
He's interacting with these virtual characters, like
with
Rudolph.
the virtual character. Yeah. Well, and he's got a whole bunch of different scenes that he goes into, and he works. You know, and we've seen him interact. We had someone's like daughter come on and hang out with him, and he did he really walked her through it. She's been talking about it for days. Like it was just like this incredible experience. But it's amazing that he does it over Zoom, and you know, so he's got this little service that he does over Zoom, and he works on it all year. Like this is not like this is like his thing.
Yeah,
and it's a really, really fascinating. We're starting to see these new things that are going to be happening over Zoom, and or some kind of online experience. And it was just a new thing. Like, I was like, I did not see that coming. And so, and it's not only that I was surprised by it, but I was really amazed at how much he's really thought it out and been, a lot of creative work.
Better than sitting in some drunk stranger's lap. So,
it is, and it's, but it's Santa Kringle with a K, and
SantaKringleLLC.com.
Yeah,
$125 for 28 minutes. You can get a virtual visit on Christmas Eve for $200. And given the fact that these are onesie twosie, I can, he's actually, this is pretty reasonable. How many visits can he do on a Christmas Eve? And then there's special events as well. So, wow, that's really cool. Look at this.
Really
the video
cool
is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, if you watch the video, you'll just see this. I mean, if you're just looking for something completely different, and I have some other folks in office hours saw it and they were like, they already bought a slot. Like, they were like, okay, we're doing this.
I think this is a great idea. He's very clever to do it this way, I think. I think it's really smart.
It's really, really good. Yeah.
Is the stove real? I'm trying to figure out. Some of it is, obviously.
He's got little gnomes in there.
He's got elves. They wave at him. They're not gnomes. No. Don't make a mistake. Gnomes are for the lawn.
Gnomes drink. They drink too much, I hear.
That's really cute. That's so cute. And you know what? Totally credible. It's really good. Really good. Yeah. Santa Kringle.llc with a K.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alex. That was a very festive pick.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Very nice. Andy, your pick of the week. You got two. Oh, you're muted.
Christmas present. Oh, sorry. Am I?
Yeah, now you're okay. Maybe that was us.
Yeah. I was shuffling things around, so they probably muted me for out of safety. Yeah. So this is my big Christmas present to myself this year. Last year around this time, I decided to, for some reason, I got a bug in my head around like December 28th, 29th to finally like start buying like high resolution audio files and see, can I really hear the difference? So this year I decided that, okay, well, you know what? I'm not going to just do that. I'm like, this is my time that I'm going to buy like my first like, I don't know if you call it higher end. It's not audiophile, like cheapskate audiophile headphones and an actual like external DAC, so that I could start.
Oh, that's the hip DAC. I love my hip DAC.
Yeah. Ooh. So this is the combination I came up with because I had a budget of like $500, and so this is what I'm wearing here are the Hi-Fi Man Sundara headphones.
I love Hi-Fi Man headphones. Those are great.
Yeah, they're really, really good. I bought these because they were almost universally praised as like the best entry level. Like if you want an upgrade from whatever you're wearing right now, but you don't want to spend a huge amount of money, Let's put it this way: they're less than the AirPods Max, and they sound about 100 times better. They're like $350. Yeah, and universally, like I'm talking like the nerd audiophile.
I have Hi-Fi Mans as well, and I think I have a little bit higher end, but they're remarkable. They sound so open and clear, and I just love them. Yeah, they really are excellent. Because I had two variables here. Like my normal like listening headphones were either like these standard like Sony like old Warrior like $80 XDR headphones, or I did buy the latest version of like Sony's noise canceling headphones, the version Model 4 or whatever this year. And yeah, no, they're much clearer. They're much nicer. Then you add the DAC, which is instead of using the onboard digital to analog converter, now it's got this whole processor that's doing nothing but converting like the signal. This one is I actually bought it based on the recommendation that both you and Alex I think had months ago. This is the second version, the updated 2021 version. Yeah, because mine's blue. You got a red one. Yeah. They made it looks identical. They improved some of the internals to it. Nice. Not something that I'm qualified to say how much better it sounds because obviously I haven't tried both of them. But the idea here is that it's battery powered, so it'll work on your phones, it'll work on your laptops, it'll work on the desktops. The only disadvantage of this is that for audiophile reasons, I am told, the built-in you can't charge it while it's actually plugged in because they keep the power charging circuitry and the audio processing circuitry separate. So as a result, the battery lasts, they say, up to 8 hours. I'm getting about 6 hours. So even when it's plugged into my desktop, as it usually is, I will have to keep recharging it. But I solved that by buying two, Andy. Yes. Rotate them.
A day and
swap
a night.
on like a bandolier of DACs. Yeah. To sort of wind it up kind of quickly, what I was kind of curious about and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to buy this stuff on Amazon, is that I didn't know whether I would really notice a difference, because you buy stuff on Amazon in early December, now you can return it through January, the end of January, so I'd have a lot of time to play with it. I can definitely say that, yeah, I can definitely tell the difference, not on everything, but on many, many pieces of audio that were well engineered. I'm seeing a lot more detail. It's the difference between like listening to on a really, really good pair of Bluetooth headphones, what you hear is a piano, but there's a difference between I'm hearing not just a piano, but I'm hearing this piano, and with this setup, I'm hearing this piano in that room.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So it really feels really, really good. The only drawback, just before I wind it up completely, is that it's still listening to high definition audio, high resolution audio is still a big, big mess. I found that one of the most valuable features of this or any other DAC is that there's actually an LED around the volume control in the middle there that tells you what it's actually decoding. And so if normally it's green, which means that yes, you're getting CD quality lossless audio, but you don't get into the other colors like, no, now you're getting high resolution audio, now you're getting DS whatever, until you've got making sure that you're running the right app, the app is decoding it properly, that you've got on the device, the phone, that is, you've got this right switches flipped to say, no, please pass through high definition audio, and then you might find that, as is the case on my Pixel 6, that there's a bug in their audio subsystem that's not passing across the audio correctly. So I'm enjoying it on my iPad, I'm enjoying it on my MacBook, but I'm not yet enjoying it on my phone. So boo me.
Have you tried any MQA audio? Because that's one of the features that's added in this new one that I don't have in the original hip DAC, and that's a master quality recording. Yeah, it's a new standard. It has a file that comes with it. It's a new kind of high res. I have never heard of it and never tried it, but I'm wondering.
Yeah, it's I think I did buy a couple. I buy my high res audio on hdtracks.com. Like
Me
now,
too. Yeah.
If I'm buying anything, right, and I bought a couple of tracks in that format. I'm trying to figure out whether I'm actually hearing a difference or whether I'm telling myself I'm hearing a difference, because once you get above like a certain bit rate, I mean, I've proven to myself that I'm not faking my enthusiasm for this, because again, I've done lots of side-by-side tests, and I don't believe I'm bamboozling myself into thinking that it's a higher quality experience. However, there comes a point where what you're listening, I feel as though comes a point which what you're listening to is the histogram. You're not listening to the actual music. Right. So I think that's a problem. It might become more interesting when so Tidal, I think. Yeah,
Tidal does MQA.
They do MQA, and you'll need a special decoder to get all that. But the thing is, Tidal, to get that level of quality, that's like 2 bumps over. Yeah. There's a free tier, great, and then there's like the regular quality tier, great. There's the hi-fi quality, which is like CD uncompressed, and then like for $20 a month, or actually when I signed up, it was like 25, 26. It's like I'm not going to spend $26 a month just for.
You should try it, because right now it's $2 for a month, for 3 months for their holiday special. It'll be worth a try.
I signed up for Tidal for the first time like just last weekend, just to start trying this stuff. It comes down to style. I find that I'm using Spotify because it has the largest and most valuable catalog, and I use that to sample. And then if I find something that I absolutely love, I will buy it. And if I can buy it in high quality, I will buy it in high quality. Right. So it wouldn't be a good value proposition for me to spend $20-something a month once the free offer resides. But yeah, I mean, Spotify still hasn't done high resolution audio officially. I'm listening mostly to Apple Music because they are really, really all in on this. It doesn't cost a lot of money, and they're also very, very clear on what features a specific piece of content has. Not everything is going to be high resolution. Not everything is going to be lossless. So, but again, worthwhile for me, because I've been spending a couple of years listening to a lot more music. So it's a valuable proposition.
It's a great combination, I think. The Sundara headphones from Hi-Fi Man and the iFi hip DAC.
Even you guys listen like just without the DAC. Even you, I've plugged these into my normal like audio set. No, you guys sound a lot better than you did with the other one. So maybe you do look. See, the other thing is that you don't look quite so foolish. They're once you get into like $2,000 headphones, it's like clearly this person wants people to know. And so I was just looking at this. I'm talking about like 2 huge bell funnels. I'm not joking, that stick out like this far. Yeah. Or you look like one of the Cybermen, because it's got this huge like pull hand. Like I think this is about as far as I'm going to go.
You're no longer going into low profile. You're saying, I want the absolute positively best audio experience, when you put them on. And they sound great, but I'm always like...
Yeah. You're also like, yes, everybody in Starbucks, please ask me about my headphones because I want to talk to you for 28 minutes about how my ears are so sensitive and I'm so discerning that no, I can't. AirPods Max, no, thank you, sir. I don't want Apple to decide what quality of what to do with the audio that I put into these ears. Thank you very much.
The Max hurts my ears. It hurts them. It's so weak.
And I mean emotionally, not physically. The signal processing, I mean, it's like, how about I take the 1952 Toscanini recordings and listen to it through a can of baked beans? Why don't I do that instead? And I'll burn $500 while I do it.
You might as well not even use the Sharpie on the outside of the CD if you're going to do that.
Tidal, of course, doesn't support Apple's spatial, but it does Dolby Atmos spatial.
There's a lot less.
Sony 360. It's not as good. Oh,
well, the problem is I had Tidal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Apple. Well, and the other thing, Apple's pushing all that stuff through, and Apple's doing its own spatialization of even stereo. So sometimes it's hard to tell what you're listening to, and it's not always working. I will say that it's interesting to hear the Atmos. Like I was listening to, I've listened to a lot of versions of Appalachian Spring. It's one of my favorite pieces of music, and there was an Atmos version. I was like, oh boy, this is what I was waiting for. And I got into it and I was like, wow, did that not work? like whatever they did, like that was like that did not turn out well. Yeah. So I was like, yeah. Well, no, it wasn't. There was no center. It was like they had lost the center mass, and so I couldn't. Everything sounded really quiet, in a weird. And unfortunately, I know that music probably better than almost anything else, and so sensitive. Yeah.
Mr. Rene Ritchie, I'm sure you have something to share with us this week.
Sure, absolutely. It's not a gadget. It is a charity, a movement, a thing. Team Seas was a project that got started after Team Trees, and it's an attempt to remove a ton of garbage from rivers and oceans. It's going into its final stretch. The goal was to raise $30 million to remove 30 million, so $1 a pound of garbage from rivers and oceans, and it's at around $20 million right now. So Mr. Beast, Jimmy Donaldson, and Mark Rober are doing a live stream to try to raise the rest of the money before the end of the year. It's using all the typical YouTube tropes. I think if you donate a certain amount, they'll actually get slapped. So if you've always wanted to slap Mr. Beast or Mark Rober, like if you think they have it totally coming, right now you can put your money where your aggression is and just buy into it completely. But it's a really cool concept, a really cool execution. Almost every creator I know on YouTube has either made a video about it, donated, both, done everything they can to raise awareness. So if you or anybody feel strongly about, and I know there's all these different theories about removing the garbage doesn't stop it from going in to begin with, and that's the most important thing. And yes, but there are communities out there who they have so much garbage. They like the waterways going to their homes are just festooned with trash, and getting that out of there offers them a modicum of a better life. So I think it's entirely worth it. You can go to, it's #TeamSeas on social. You can go to teamseas.org, take a look, check it out. You can go to Mr. Beast's channel on YouTube to watch the live stream. I think it's going to shift to Mark Rober's channel later today. Mark Rober is the former NASA and Apple engineer who makes like elephant toothpaste that almost knocks the moon out of orbit. So there's a ton of fun stuff that you can watch that's going on, but it's a really great cause. And if it's something that's near and dear to you, it's a great way to help out.
Yeah, I would point out that you should really reduce your use of plastics. That would be a much more effective long-term solution.
I just want to
I'd also argue that if you, I was going to say, I'd also argue like we get, like this gets put on us a lot, like reduce our use of straws. There are companies that are contributing, like even when the whole world shut down, it turned out our cars are only a very small amount of the toxic nonsense that these vast corporations are spewing in to the world on a daily basis.
Let me put it this way.
So do what we can, but lobby them hard.
2 million pounds of plastic are dumped in the ocean every hour.
Yes.
They're removing 30 million.
Yes.
15 hours.
Absolutely, totally. But
I mean, it's a good thing. I'm not saying no to it. And especially the river cleanup, which is actually a different thing from the seas cleanup, but it's part of this Team Seas thing. That's really important. But stop using plastic. I've started shaving with those old-fashioned blades instead of the plastic blades. I mean, just stop using plastic. That's the real way to solve this long term, because we are pumping so much plastic into the ocean.
Yeah.
sadly.
I just want to point out that was a great use of the word festoon. I was like, that is not a word you hear all the time. It was just so well dropped into the thing. I was like,
I just get a little bit cranky because like big companies are really happy to tell us about recycling and us about not using straws, while because it's a distraction from them continuing to generate 90% of the waste in non-consumer products. So like push the companies hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And the best way to push it is to vote with your wallet, and not buy stuff that, like I know that I'm getting more and more. I don't want to see, for me, it's plastic. It's also what chemicals are in the food that I'm eating. It's, all that stuff is stuff that I'm just voting with. That's the first thing to do is just, I'm not going to buy it anymore.
Yeah, that's the trick. I mean, if you just look at the amount of plastics in your garbage every day, it's possible to really cut back on that. It really is.
As we get better at it, what I'm noticing is that my recycling and our trash is largely,
it's amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
It used to be just all packed up, and now it's all like, oh, it's not that much left. I have plenty of room to get rid of the old stuff that had been sitting there for a long time. I just was doing that this morning. Yeah. But I was just noticing that we just don't go through as much because we're not buying as many things with containers.
Yep. I want to just quick, it was a news story, but I stole it because I wanted to really give it a big plug. Swift Playgrounds 4 is now out for the iPad, and I've been playing with it at home. This is Xcode. I mean,
it's so good.
You can write an app, a real app, on the iPad and push it to the App Store and sell it on your iPad. It's amazing. And if if you've equipped your iPad with a keyboard, because you really wouldn't want to write code with the on-screen keyboard, but if you've equipped your iPad with a keyboard, it is a great experience. It's got a lot of the features of Xcode. You can actually take what you've written in Swift Playgrounds and move it over to Xcode, so you have full capability. A great way to learn Swift. It always has been, but now it's a way to actually write real apps with real code. And I just think it's pretty amazing that Apple's finally done this. We said for a long time we wouldn't think of the iPad as an iOS as a serious operating system until Xcode was available. Well, they've kind of done it. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think that if the next step I really still feel is going to be some kind of low code. This is lower code. But I think that we're going to get to a low no code.
This is not no code. This is, you have to write code.
You're writing Swift.
But I think the next step is some kind of nodal interface that you could basically, just start putting things together and then publish that out. Yeah. And I think that's probably the only, they just keep on making it more and more available. Well, we're building a lot in a program called Isadora, and when you start realizing what I can do inside of a nodal platform, and then when you can't do something, we just put JavaScript, just run it in.
It's nice to combine the two. Yeah, absolutely.
So when you combine it, where I can do a whole bunch of things with nodes.
That's kind of what this is, though. And the other thing I like about it is you're getting visualizations right next to the code as you write it. So you can drag and drop a lot of stuff. I mean, Playgrounds does that. But you can also write real code and see the output immediately. I think this is a great environment for learning to code. I think
the key word in Playgrounds is play.
Yeah.
And the way to build an amazing developer is someone who just has an idea and wants to play with it. And the more of it that they develop, the more potential they see and the more ideas they have, until a year later, without having any sort of concept of, hey, I think I should learn how to develop iPad apps. They've developed something amazing and astounding and bizarre and heroic because they were simply playing around with ideas. Same reason why art is good.
Unlike the kind of normal environment where you write it, compile it, and then put it on a phone and test it, it's real. I mean, your iPad is interacting directly with the code. So the touch works, everything works. Yeah. Sprite kit's there, Bluetooth, and it uses a lot of Swift packages. So you really have access to almost a complete set of tools. Yeah. It's kind of mind-boggling. I started playing with it the other day, and I couldn't believe it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, and because you're learning in Swift, because you're learning to develop in a way that Apple really, really wants you to develop, it means that you're less likely to become completely upended in the future when they decide that they're no longer going to support a certain technique or a certain package, or they're going to require that you support a certain thing. That does put limitations on the scale of the stuff that you can write. However, it does give you a good, warm, fuzzy feeling knowing that you're not, the rug under your feet is going to stay where it is for the foreseeable future when you're developing with this.
Yeah. And of course, I should mention, you can also run it on a Mac because it's Catalyst. So there you have it. Folks, have a great new year. We won't see you again till January 4th.
Yes.
I can't believe it. Time flies when you're having fun. Alex Lindsay, officehours.global. It doesn't stop even for the holidays. It will continue on forever.
It keeps getting better. I think that we keep on having these moments, especially in after hours, where we just go, I feel bad that other people don't know that it's here.
Yeah.
So I would definitely.
We do our best to spread the word. That's for sure.
Yep. No, absolutely. But it really just keeps getting, better and better. We're really experimenting now. We have a test feed that goes out that's HDR and 4K.
Wow.
And I know it sounds crazy to bring it over Zoom, but when we push it from Zoom to 4K HDR, it looks really good. It's like you're like, wow, this looks good. And you have to watch it on your phone or your iPad because it's HDR but it's on YouTube, and people are watching it on their TVs, and it's looking pretty good. So that's in test phase right now. It'll probably be published sometime in January.
Neat, very cool. 090.media too, if you want to hire Alex, because he is available. I don't know when.
We do things that are hard. Well, no, all the stuff I do for office hours ends at 9 a.m. and I go back to work. Yeah. So I go off to work and have my day job, and we do, mostly we solve complex streaming problems. I mean, that's what I specialize in, at least, is
the tough stuff
that hasn't been done before is usually where I'm.
And I love seeing the Macintosh Classic in Bill Davis's background there. That's sweet. That's nice.
Exactly.
That's nice. Andy Anako, are you still doing WGBH even though the holidays are upon us?
Well, no, old man Fezziwick, he said nobody works on Christmas Eve. Roll up the carpets, we're going to have dancing and punch. So I was actually doing it one day early because of Christmas Eve. So I'm going to be on Thursday at 12:30 in the afternoon. Go to WGBHnews.org to listen to it live or stream it later.
Nice. Thank you, Andy. Have a wonderful holiday. We'll see you before the traditional Eastern Orthodox Christmas, though, so we can celebrate twice with you.
Exactly. Believe me.
I think that's like the 8th this year. I can't remember. We looked at
pierogies for all.
Yay!
Pierogies of all shapes, sizes, and fillings. Many cheeses, many sour creams.
I don't know what Canadian Christmas is like, but I bet it's nice. Renee Ritchie. YouTube.com/Renee Ritchie. I bet you'll be putting out videos all week long, I would guess.
I don't handle boredom well, Leo. So yeah, I just keep going. I just double down. Double down on the holidays.
Nice. Anything else you want to plug? Anything coming up?
I'm doing a new version of my Secret Origins of the iPhone, but a more Aaron Sorkin-esque thing where I go up to the event and then stop.
Nice.
Just because you all know the event already. So everything that happened at Apple, all the challenges, all the strangeness, is that a good way to put it? That led to the creation of the iPhone.
And next year, the claymation Renee Ritchie, which would be really great.
Georgia says she's going to make a puppet Renee Ritchie, but I think she just wants to take my nose off. I think that's the whole purpose of that.
Pop it right off.
Yep.
We do MacBreak Weekly every Tuesday. Again, next week it'll be the best of, so we won't have a live show to watch, but there will be a news show with the best moments from 2021. Normally, though, and starting January 4th, we'll be right back here Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1900 UTC. You can watch or listen live at live.twit.tv. There's a variety of streams to choose from there. If you're watching or listening live, chat live at irc.twit.tv or go into our fabulous Discord. Club Twit members are so much fun. And the Discord turns out to be really the clubhouse where everybody gathers, not just for the shows, but for all sorts of topics. We've been doing the advent of code in there, and John Arnold is blowing me away. He's amazing. You can also do Stacy's Book Club. We have the Untitled Linux Show, the GizFizz, many other things. Those all make it to the Twit Plus feed. We thought the big benefit of Club Twit would be ad-free versions of all the shows. And it is still a benefit, but there's lots more too. $7 a month. Go to twit.tv/clubtwit to find out more. And yes, there are corporate memberships, and at least 2 companies now are doing that for the holidays. Maybe it'd be a good one for your company. Twit.tv/clubtwit. On-demand versions of the show available at the website, twit.tv/MBW. There's also a YouTube channel devoted to MacBreak Weekly. You can watch the videos there. And, of course, the best way to do it is to subscribe. My favorite, anyway, in your favorite podcast application. And if you do that, you'll get it automatically the minute it's available. And if you can, leave us a 5-star review, because that would be nice. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate your being here. Have a wonderful Christmas, a happy New Year. We'll see you in 2022. Now get back to work, because break time is over. Bye-bye.
Hey, you don't have to wait till the weekend to get the tech news you need. Join Jason Howell and myself, Micah Sargent, for Tech News Weekly, where we talk to and about the people making and breaking the tech news.